What's up, sloppers? I'm Idle, and this is my slop. This is a treasure hunter key. Do you know what that is? It's gross. So if you haven't heard, recently Jagex has just started a poll on whether or not to remove Treasure Hunter from RuneScape 3. Treasure Hunter is basically a gambling microtransaction that gives you random, really powerful benefits in the game. Things that either give you bonus XP, XP directly, items that give you bonuses in combat, anything you can imagine that you'd be like, oh, that's not good, we shouldn't have that in a game. They got it, so cool, great. It's bad. Also, if you're wondering why I said poll in quotes, it's because it's not a poll. You can only vote yes. It's a petition. They're doing a petition. I do want to say that I am entirely in favor of this move, of this petition, everything about it. I think this is a huge net positive for not only RuneScape 3, but hopefully the gaming industry. I think this is going to be good. I do want to take a look at it from, I don't want to say a cynical perspective, but maybe like, let's just ask ourselves why, because there's a lot that would go into making a decision like this for Jagex, and it's worth getting a full picture of it. But the first thing I've seen come up a lot in regards to this discussion is the fact that this petition is entirely performative, which, yeah, duh, what? Yeah, of course it is. Jagex set an arbitrary threshold on this poll of 100,000 yes votes in order for the movement to pass, in order to remove Treasure Hunter from the game, which is a really low number. Like that, obviously they're gonna hit it. At the time I'm recording this, they're approaching 90,000 and it's been out for less than 24 hours. So yeah, they knew they were going to hit that number. So it's fair to call it performative, but it's performative for a good reason. Removing a microtransaction in a game that has been really, for a lot of people, defined by microtransactions for 15 years now is such a big deal. But at the same time, if they just removed Treasure Hunter, I think it could go under the radar. You would get news coverage about it. Some people would tell their friends what happened, but it is the kind of thing that would be a big deal for a day or two and then kind of get swept under the news cycle. This is such a big deal, it deserves as many eyeballs on it as possible, whichever way it goes, if it ends up being a massive success or ends up not being that big of a deal. People need to be talking about it, and doing a performative poll like this, yes, it feels fake, yes, it feels inauthentic. I do think it's important. It gets people's attention on it, and also the wider MMO and gaming industries will hopefully take notice of what's happening here. But the question is, what is the removal of Treasure Hunter actually entail? Can you just really rip out something that is kind of integral to the way a lot of people play RuneScape 3 with no ramifications, just a clean cauterization of the wound? No, you can't. If you read down further on the poll page, they do describe exactly what this entails if and when this passes. It includes the removal of 225 direct XP and skilling items for sale, and that sounds great, but then you read just a little bit further down, and they are going to add in directly purchasable bonus XP. This means that if you want to train one of the skills in the game, say agility, you could go to the game shop and buy bonus XP. As far as I understand it, you would still need to go then train the skill, and you would just be getting double XP, for instance, when training it. So this is a huge step up from the way, if you've played RuneScape 3, you can watch my video on it on the main channel. A little self-promotion for you. People can just like summon these like training dummies where they can train literally any skill in the game standing at a bank, which kind of sucks in an MMORPG where you want to see people out in the world. Instead, you just see people standing at like a chest and going like crazy on some dummies, and they're like, oh, I'm training fishing. What? The reason they're keeping the purchasable bonus XP is because of a survey they ran at some point earlier this year, I'm guessing, on the RuneScape 3 player base, and they said they got a 54% positive reaction to keeping some form of progression-based microtransaction in the game. Players who said it was key to the way they experienced the game. And a lot of people have seen that and been like, what? 54% of people are okay with microtransactions and even say they want it. That's bonkers. That's crazy. The RS3 player base is largely made up of people who either participate in or are kind of numb/used to the existence of powerful microtransactions in their game. I'm not saying that to be like, and therefore they're stupid. It's just a reality. And I think if any of us played a game that was heavily microtransaction based, we might not be as hard on it. I think a lot of RuneScape 3 players are actually harder on it because they love the game so much and they think it detracts from it. But take the average player and I think you'll get a slightly different response. And that's why you see a 54% positive reaction. And I strongly wish they weren't keeping microtransactions, powerful microtransactions in the game. But at the same time, I get it. Because you have to wonder how the game looks after you do something this massive to it. All right, we've already established removing Treasure Hunter, good. Less microtransactions, fewer microtransactions, that's embarrassing. That's a good thing. All good stuff. Thank you for watching, but there's more. There are a lot of ramifications from removing microtransactions, and there's also maybe not as much of an impact as we might think. It's the old question, can you put the genie back in the bottle? And of course you can. The genie lives in the bottle. For the past 15 years, RuneScape has had at least some form of microtransaction, Treasure Hunter being the longest lasting and the most impactful, and removing it doesn't remove the effects it's had on the game and the player base. You don't really want to alienate existing RuneScape 3 players in an effort to attract a whole different kind of player. As good as that might sound on the surface of like, well, yeah, now we're attracting more new players. It's kind of tough because that's not guaranteed. Removing microtransactions like this, removing Treasure Hunter specifically like this, doesn't guarantee new players coming in, and you risk alienating a lot of players, as that survey says. Like, if you log in and try RuneScape 3 after Treasure Hunter is removed, it's not like you're not still playing in a world where people have been able to buy their progression for years and years. It might still feel off. Maybe it won't. It's a question I have. This is an open-ended question. And so when I see things like purchasable bonus XP remaining in the game, I do wonder if that's an effort not only to keep making money, because duh, they want to keep making money, but I wonder if it's an effort to hold on to a core player base in case this doesn't pan out the way they want it to pan out. So as hard as I want to be on this, I kind of get it, and like that sounds gross to me to even like defend any form of microtransaction because I hate them. But like I kind of get this as like a risk mitigation move from Jagex. So all that's to say, I wish they would go clean slate. I get why they're not. I think this poll is the beginning of what is hopefully a revitalization of RuneScape 3, and if microtransactions can be at the forefront of that revitalization, that is a very, very good thing, not just for the game, but for MMOs as a whole. Let's talk hypothetical here. RuneScape 3, they remove microtransactions, they address some of the other things on the roadmap, and 4 years from now, their player base is at like 60 to 70,000 concurrent as opposed to the 20,000-ish concurrent they're at now. That's a massive success. That's actually an unbelievable success if that happens, by the way. Like, that might sound like nothing because a lot of major online games and MMOs easily crack 100, 200,000 concurrent. That would be a huge deal in growth for RuneScape 3, a game that has been dying for years now. There is a chance that maybe that causes other parts of the industry to look at their games and reevaluate how they try and grow a player base or recover a player base. RuneScape 3 is not an isolated incident of player bases falling, so they try to monetize what's left even harder, and then that's a cycle that continues. They're one of dozens and dozens of games that have done that. So if they can lead the charge and be successful doing it in a way that we're all in favor of, that could be huge for everything. That could be huge. I mean, it could lead to a world where Blizzard makes Classic Plus one day, and they don't put microtransactions in Classic Plus. That's not gonna happen. It's Blizzard, dude. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm getting high off my own supply right now. My hope, and I think a lot of people's hope, is that this is the tip of the iceberg in not just RuneScape 3's transformation, but hopefully a lot of other games following this as a sort of blueprint. Will that happen? Honestly, it's unlikely. That's a really hard thing to do, but hopefully it'll happen. It might be even more likely to happen because of probably the real reason that Jagex is even making this. That was earwax in my ear. Yuck. A lot of people have been wondering, is Jagex really doing this out of the goodness of their own heart? Or is there a little more to it? Because, Mod North, the new CEO, who, he seems like an interesting guy. He has interesting views on gay people. Maybe he's not just trying to, revitalize the game in the most wholesome way possible. In case you didn't know, there is some recent movement on new EU legislation that would restrict the presence of dark patterns in video games. Dark patterns are basically like things that are meant to make you do evil. Dark patterns, specifically in video games, are at their core ways to get players to spend money. And at their worst, they're ways to get people addicted to spending money. If you watch my video on microtransactions, yeah, the second channel is just a promotion for my main channel. You're just figuring that out now. I talk a lot about the ways things like premium currencies are a way for people to separate in-game money from their real-world money, which makes them more likely to spend real-world money on the game. The EU is considering legislation to greatly regulate that. The gaming industry is terrified of this proposed legislation. Supercell, the makers of Clash of Clans, have said this could break how many games fundamentally work. If this is how your game fundamentally works, close it down. Close it, just shut your fucking game down, you piece of fucking trash. And it would really require a lot of refactoring and a lot of finagling the laws to keep existing gambling systems in. Wait for it. Treasure Hunter's a gambling system. These laws would cause a lot of trouble for Jagex, and in fact, some advertising laws in both the UK and the EU have already caused problems for Jagex. In 2023, when they were advertising their new skill Necromancy, which was a big deal for the game, they posted some ads on Facebook, and the UK Advertising Authority, I don't know if that's what they're actually called, slapped them on the wrist and made them pull those ads because they did not sufficiently disclose the existence of loot box gambling systems in their game. Ironically, Miniclip was accused of doing the same thing in those same findings, which is funny because a lot of us started playing RuneScape because of Miniclip, so that's cool. Also, EA was in it, but no one's surprised about that. These new laws don't mean Jagex couldn't find a way to keep microtransactions and even some form of gambling going in their game. That is not out of the question, and the presence of these potentially forthcoming regulations do not detract from what Jagex is doing here, in my opinion, but I do think they are very likely a motivator in getting the ball rolling. So if changing laws make the industry better and safer for everyone, hell yeah. Like, what? People are gonna be like, government overstepping their bounds. Shut up. No, I mean, don't shut up. That we should talk about maybe governments overstepping their bounds sometimes. They do that sometimes. This is a RuneScape video. What am I talking about? But yeah, anyway, that whole thing I said about could RuneScape 3's successful change lead a charge in the industry? If it doesn't, hopefully laws do. Hopefully changing laws do, because we need to change something. The fact that the Clash of Clans people are like, this is how our games work, should be concerning. And I think it's good that we're finally seeing at least one game look in the mirror and say, okay, maybe the solution isn't to try and get more creative about our microtransactions, but it's to remove them, to scale back at least. I think that's a really good thing. And I think Jagex should be, at the very least, given like a pat on the back for this idea, and we should all root for it to work. Even if you don't want to play RuneScape 3, I don't really want to play RuneScape 3. This could be the start of a trend. It probably won't be, but it could be, and that would be so cool. Anyway, that's enough yapping. If you want to see more from me, go to my main channel. If you want to see less from me, go to my Blue Sky. If you want to see the rantings of a madman, come over to my house.